Guess who's back?
Hello.
Back again.
Back again.
Back again. Austin McIllroy. What's up, dude?
Dude, nothing much. How are you?
Is this weird?
No, not at all.
Okay, cool.
I'm really excited about it.
Good. Me too. So for those that haven't watched season 1, I don't know why I call them seasons, but I
You can call it
I like to
season.
take breaks, so
Yeah,
we'll call it
of course.
seasons. It was Austin and I's brainchild
Yeah.
to do the tasting room, and then he got really busy, which we will talk about.
Yes.
Reasons why. So seasons 2 and then this season have been just moi flying solo.
Man.
But it is so good to see your smiling face over there.
Well, likewise.
Yeah. So
Back at
why did you leave me? No,
Well-
I'm just kidding. Like, why have you been so busy? Let's just set it all out there as I open this.
Yeah.
This whiskey.
Oh, my goodness. Well, okay. So I guess, when did we actually start this podcast? What would have that been? That would have been...
Ooh.
It's
2021. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost a year ago.
Yeah.
Or
maybe
more than
just
a year.
over. Yeah.
Yeah. October of 2021, I think we started, or at least talking about it.
That sounds right.
And then, so I would have been on with you up until somewhere around in March or something like that.
Give or take. I think it was early 2022. Yeah.
And so, but at that point in time, the brewery, so I'm with Cabin Boys Brewery, we got approached by Claremore, the city, and actually technically one other city and a few other ideas were approached or came and approached us to open up a second tap room. That would have been, those talks would have started in February. And
So I remember we talked about it not on air, but
Not on
we
air,
talked
yeah.
about it afterwards.
that was before I could actually kind of officially talk about it.
Right.
And that would have been, so we solidified our first project of opening up a secondary tap room. I think I started signing papers in April.
Okay.
And so, so we got really busy really quick,
Yeah.
really fast. And then in April, we were actually approached. Well, it's kind of a long story, but let's just say we kind of stumbled into the downtown location where the old Prairie Brewpub was. And when we walked through there, for the circumstances of the time, the George Kaiser Foundation were really excited. They all came out and saw us, and we were kind of thrown back. We were like, oh, well, we're just kind of looking at this place for funsies.
Right.
And
Just dreaming.
dreaming,
Yeah.
kind of funsies. We don't have any, intention. And they were like, but you're going to open up a brew pub here, right? And we were like,
If the price is right.
Sure. So we went back to the drawing board because our intentions weren't actually going to open 2 new locations at once. But the insanity in me said, sure.
Right.
But it was really cool. Very thankful for that opportunity and them, believing in us and actually taking us on. And so they selected us over a few different companies that were looking at it at the same time to take it over. And so our life got triply busy at that point in time. And that's why you probably didn't hardly even hear from me.
No,
I felt like a ghost.
But I knew what was going on, so it was for anyone that was watching and like, oh, John and Austin had a falling out. Not at all. Like, it was just you were insanely busy, and I think you might be certifiably insane. To go from one location to 3, all at the same time, almost.
Yeah.
Like those other 2 were like almost you were juggling. Because was Claremore open? It's open now, but you were juggling both at the same time.
Yeah, we were going through negotiations at the same time for both locations. We actually signed the lease for both places maybe 40 days apart.
That's insane, man.
So it was quite something. That summertime going into September was quite intense, but really good. It wasn't the negotiations of everything were very cordial. But
Sure.
anything that goes on with that, just takes time. Lawyers have to look at everything and blah blah blah, and has to go through, like for the Kaiser Foundation, it has to go through all of their boards. So when we would do one edit, it'd take 2 weeks to come back. And that was completely expected of them. And they were very patient with us when we would take a lot of time to decide on something. But yeah, we officially actually signed the first lease drafts. I would say maybe let's just call it 48 days apart or something like that.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. So juggling 2 places at once, 2 construction sites at once. And then I think that you definitely can call me certifiably insane because I also went through, and it's still going on at my house. I'm remodeling my house.
Shut up. Dude.
So I got contractors at my house, got contractors downtown, and then thankfully Claremore's open now, so I don't have contractors there.
Someone calls you and asks about a vanity, and you say, yeah, sure, thinking it's your house, and then you end up with a vanity in the middle of your brew pub location. You're like, what the fuck is this?
What did yes. I didn't sign on for this. And they were like, yes, you definitely did. And I'm like, no, it's supposed to be at my house.
God, man. I have so many. Okay, so let's do this.
Right.
Do we want to start with whiskey or do we want to start with something you brought? Because we could let this breathe. Okay. I just opened it.
Beer before liquor, never sicker.
Fair.
Liquor before beer in the clear.
Yeah, that was the old saying. I don't know how accurate it is, but I do the same thing a lot.
That's not a certified statement by a person that makes alcohol. I think if you just drink enough alcohol, you're going to get messed up either way.
Right, very true.
Yeah.
So this is top 3 bottles of the year for me, and I just stumbled across it yesterday.
Oh,
so it is a 2002 limited release from Maker's Mark, their wood finishing series. They did a BRT-01 and a BRT-02. I actually... Alex, my buddy that runs Sidecar on 15th, he let me blind them. So he just poured me, or he didn't pour me, he was part of the blind. The bartender poured us a sample of each without telling us which one it was. And 01 was good, but it needed like a cigar. It was like a cigar whiskey. This one, the tasting notes are a dark expression filled with notes of fruit, nut, and chocolate. 109.4 proof. There was 10 Virginia toasted French oak staves that were put into the barrel. And to me, this is like your prototypical. It doesn't taste a lot like a weeder. Weeded bourbon for those that don't know what a weeder is. But it's a daily sipper. I'm so glad I found this bottle because I found it at Park Hills, Midtown.
Cool. Their selection is amazing. I got a bottle of...
fucking love that. Man.
I love... It has like a little prickly pepper note on the nose. Yeah. I love
that. While you're sipping it, I had a really cool conversation with the guy that runs Park Hills 2 the other day because I was messaging him to see... This is probably my second favorite bottle of the year. I tried... Whoa. Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
Man, thank you for opening that.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to sip it every day almost. Like, it's my daily go-to. Because every time I go to Sidecar now, like, they don't even have to ask my order. They pour me a single of this and a Stone Cloud Light just because I like a crisp, light lager to go with that. But anyway, I was talking to the Park Hills guy, and it's weird because it was through Instagram, so I don't know exactly who it was, but he said my store, so it makes me think he's like somewhat of importance that runs their social media.
But if it's not, then that's a great...
Own it. Just own
it. Great team person.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Just own it.
But I'm looking for the most recent release, the barrel proof edition of E.H. Taylor that I tried last Thursday at a bottle share we were doing for the Spirits of Legend group. And it's the best bourbon I've had maybe since Aaron opened that Dusty Turkey.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
that was an experience in and of itself.
It's fucking unbelievable. And so I'm on the search for that. And it's just... It shows up, and then people like have deals with them to take it off the truck before it even gets inside. I mean, it's just like finding one's going to be almost impossible. But I was just asking if he had seen one yet. You guys didn't hear what I just said, so that edit was probably awkward. But I appreciate Park Hills looking out for the average bourbon consumer.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say about that because I don't want to give away the secret of what they're trying to do.
Sure, yeah,
to get bourbon into our hands.
And that part of their relationship with their customer just really means that they care about what they're doing.
Yeah.
And care about the people that don't necessarily do weird things like show up at 8.
Honestly, though. Okay, so I have so many questions about what you're doing now. The first of which is why Claremore? Of the places you could have gone, what was it about Claremore that was it the space? Was it the people? Was it a combo? What was it?
It was a combination of a whole bunch of different stuff. And it's been really fun for me because that is the question that I've as cabin boys, we have received the most, before we opened. And now that we're open, the whole entire town understands. And now
the town was asking that question. Why us?
Why us? Yeah. Why were you choosing them? Because especially with a town like Claremore, Okmulgee actually approached us to open up a tap room down there, and a few other places. But anyways, the reason that we chose Claremore was they were already poised on their downtown expansions. They had already done a lot of legwork to get downtown to be popularized with their community. And so there's a lot of momentum in that corridor, and there's stuff that I actually can't say to the public or on a podcast that I know that's going to happen within the next 3 years.
So there's a plan, there's vision.
There's vision, there's momentum, there's people in place that are getting a lot of really cool stuff done. But that aside, as like a really smart, business move of going into somewhere that has momentum already, and it's not us creating the momentum, it's kind of like catching a wave and riding it. The space was perfect. We didn't really have to do a whole lot of construction on that project. We inherited a great setup. The bar was already there. All we really had to do was splash some paint on, cut a drain for the small brew house that we have up there, and do some small touch-ups behind the bar, bring in the equipment that we're used to, that sorts of things.
Was it a restaurant or a bar before?
It was a bar before. Okay. So the previous owners had a great business going on. They just got way too busy. They had twins. Their real estate business was booming, and so they just didn't have time. That was kind of a little side passion project of theirs, because they wanted to create basically what we're creating for Claremore post their business, of a place to just hang out and have good beer in a town like Claremore. So the third reason that it was really natural for me to be drawn to Claremore, not only because the town is really cool and the community is just really rich.
I love that, yeah.
But my family has been doing business in Claremore for the better part of 30 years now. So my dad was the medical director of the regional hospital in Claremore for 25 years. My family owns and operates Strength of Mind, which is a small mental health office, and our original location is in Claremore, still operating. So I know that town personally, and I was able to have the confidence that I could impart that knowledge onto our team to really manage that place and really know how to jive with that community. So, they had a leg up already, and that unbeknownst to them, they didn't know that I was from Claremore, truly. I've lived around Tulsa, grew up in Broken Arrow, and then moved out to Claremore for about 4 years, and then we moved to Catoosa. But my life has always been connected to Claremore, so that was an easy step for me.
You're a zebra.
Yeah, even though I didn't really go to high school there. But, it was really easy and kind of made sense. So it was a really cool kind of homecoming for me. Getting the excuse to go back out there all the time is just really fun and really cool. So, and the risk of making that decision has paid off. So
good.
Yeah.
So you walked me into my next question, your time management skills. So you can go ahead and take a sip, but I'll talk for a second. But I'm trying to imagine, I knew what opening this place did to my calendar, which was just block it out because I'm here trying to work with contractors or whatever needs to be done. Right. But with two going on simultaneously, how do you, plus the brewery that you have at 6th and Utica, how do you balance that? How's your time management skills?
So I would say, I'm still learning that. But I would say to the decision process of, making multiple decisions all at once, really fast pace. I told my team, and one of the things that we've learned together is we're going to make the best decision in the moment that we're making it. And if we don't make a decision, we're not going to move forward. And so, being able to trust that in the moment our gut is correct and make that decision to make movement go forward really helped our time management of, okay, well, if the decision that I made last week needs to be redone, we've still gone forward and just know we can pivot, we can move. It might not be the best decision that we ever made, but we're still doing it. We're still moving forward and trusting our future self to fix our past self's decisions or be thankful for our past self's decision. And, so that helps, I think, with time management and what goes on in every day-to-day monotony of like emails or calling or contracting or whatever. But also at the same time, you're trying to be physically present with everyone within the company. You're also trying to be present with your contractors and who you're, dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So it was really just carving out and actually putting stuff onto the calendar and really organizing each day and knowing, okay, well, if I'm going to make this 30-minute drive, I'm going to not only do this one thing with this one contractor, but I'm also going to know, okay, I know that conversation is going to take 15 minutes, but what else can I get accomplished within the 45 minutes that I could spend an hour up there, get a couple extra things done, come back. And so you really start prioritizing, why am I going up there? What is going to get done? And then also at the same time, really trusting your delegation with your team and trusting that their decisions are just as good as yours. So
that's key.
Prioritizing. We really, really got strong when we prioritized who makes decisions where. And we actually just had, as a team, we just had, about a 2-hour conversation with our management group this morning about communication. How can we get better? Because we had a decision just today that, not really a decision, but an idea that was kind of birthed out of a scenario. And we forgot to communicate that idea to our head brewer, David.
Whoops.
And it
happens though.
It happens, and he brought that to our attention. We felt bad. He felt bad, But all the coolest part of the conversation was, okay, if we realize, okay, we're learning how to do this as we go, and if we're open with each other, and we can create these communication channels to be better and more planned out, and have systems of what that means of. An idea doesn't necessarily need to become a decision, this, that, and the other. But so time management of going in between all 3 locations, I would just say intentionality of what the time was, and knowing, I've got this time to carve out for this, move on to the next, and not waste time in between, and really, even I've got an hour's worth of chunk of time in the car in between here and Claremore, there and back again. Well, that's an hour that I can be on the phone with a distributor or a contractor or, my teammates or something. So just, it seems like a lot, and it seems like it's kind of undoable. But once we had, people in place that we trusted to do things and really delegate and push tasks off to, we got stuff done really fast once we noticed, okay, this person's good at this person's good at that.
Find your lane.
Austin needs to be at this place, Lisa needs to be at this place, but we all trusted that we were all acting under the umbrella of what we wanted to accomplish. And so that's kind of why, Claremore, from signing the lease to opening, was less than 4 months.
That's quick.
Yeah. And so that doesn't get accomplished with just one person. So, if I can give a shout out to my team.
Absolutely.
That's really why we've found the success that we have within that space already, and the ability to open it up so fast. So,
as I ask this next question, can you flip on that light that I forgot to flip on?
Yeah,
there's a little button at the top there. You see it?
Yeah.
So you talk about all the decisions you've had to make, and when I ask this question, I'm not talking about the like small ones, right? I'm talking about the big ones.
Okay.
The big ones. What's been the toughest? What's been the toughest decision throughout this process for you? I mean, was it just to do it, period?
Yeah. I mean, my brain was going back to, so we got thrown into a scenario that we didn't think that we were going to have. A company that's highly respected within Tulsa approaches us and says, we want you. And we didn't have a business plan for it. We didn't have a pro forma. We didn't have...
We're talking about Prairie now,
We're talking about the downtown brewpub location. And, we weren't prepared for that mentally. We were prepared mentally for Claremore because even though Claremore called us and approached us, we were already in the mindset that we wanted to have a second tap room. We were kind of already gyrating with that motion. So...
that almost made me laugh. It's a great phrase. Gyrating with that motion.
Gyration with the motion.
Okay.
I would say the biggest decision was, having those meetings with our leadership team, and actually plunging ourselves into it. Does this make sense for us? Can we actually get this accomplished? Do we have enough time for it? Do we have the wherewithal to do it? Do we think that we can get the finances for it? So, that decision had 50 decisions within it. And I think saying yes was one of the most exciting and exhilarating, but also the most terrifying because, I sat down with Lisa and Dustin. Dustin is our operations manager. And I said, if we say yes, we are all agreeing collectively that we have a lot of work to do after this. It's kind of like the scenario when a moose hunter has this, romantic thought of hunting the moose, getting the moose, but until you squeeze the trigger, once you squeeze it, that's when the work begins because you've got
so much to do.
You've got 2,500 pounds of meat to pack out and get on an airplane.
Very quickly, too.
And very quickly. And it's kind of the same scenario. Once we pulled the trigger, it had to be done quickly because, for them, they don't want an empty building sitting there for 2 years and it not generating any kind of income for them and for us. So we didn't want to have a pregnant goose together. And so, with them, we had to be pretty transparent of, hey, we need time to talk this out. We need to strategize. We need to actually talk to a bank. This is, starting a very long, arduous conversation with our leadership. So they were really cool and very patient with us. They knew that, we weren't necessarily entirely prepared for that conversation. And so that allowed us, to have about a month's worth of time to do all of the back work, get a pro forma in place, get a business plan in place, do all of this internal work to actually say our yes means yes. And we said, at the beginning of that month, that would have been probably May when we actually got in the hotbed with them. And we said, if it needs to be a no at the end of this month, it's not because we're not excited about this opportunity. It's just because we weren't able to get it done.
The numbers didn't make sense. Right?
Numbers didn't make sense, or we just physically couldn't do it because we didn't have the infrastructure or anything like that. So making that decision, I think, was the biggest within all of this. But I'm glad that we did it, and we are really, really excited to get that thing open and operated. Construction's going to be done before the first week of January.
Oh, so you're
we're
on it.
We're going.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to ask a lot about that, but let's drink something you brought. Where do you want to start? Do you want to cleanse our palate with this? Or do you want to go?
No, let's go to a beer.
Okay.
We'll talk about that in between so that
Fair.
our buzz is cut. And I'll go into that when we open it. This one's just really fun. So let's open this one up.
Okay.
And the reason for it, I was really excited to bring this because I don't know if you knew, but it won a second medal.
I did know that.
At the Great American Beer Fest. You were there?
Yeah.
You heard our name on stage. Or well,
no,
I guess
I heard
you
it in the
the
live stream.
Yeah.
I went, or my friend group. So I was in, let me rephrase that. Thank you. I was in Denver. Instead of buying secondary ticket prices, I went to Hops and Pie and did my own GABF thing.
Nice.
The night they went, which was Friday night. And then Saturday we watched the awards because one of my buddies owns a brewery up in Wisconsin, and they entered a few different beers. Cheers.
Cheers.
And he was listening to hear if they won, and I heard your name across the live stream. I was like, no shit.
Yeah. So that was really cool. It's just a cool cherry on top to our whole entire year, and it's just a freaking good beer.
It's just a good beer. Yeah. This is Going Stag, your single. Oh, and you have the silver on there.
Yep. Well, and that's our first silver.
So you have a second one you can put on there.
We'll be rebranding it.
What you should do is instead of the disco ball, it should be a shiny silver.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea.
There you go. You're welcome. That's free.
Sorry, Lisa has tried to wash that statement out of my mouth. We are redesigning. We're not rebranding.
Fair.
We're redesigning the can to have the second metal. It'll have some different stuff on it, and I can kind of say that we're going to do some rebranding within our cans, which is going to be really, really cool.
It's also cool you have all that in-house with Lisa.
Yeah, I know. Well, it just makes life a whole lot easier. Yeah. But that'll be really fun. And I just wanted to bring it because, that was a month and a half before opening Claremore. Mm-hmm. And it just really gave...
What good momentum to open with.
I know. And it really gave... the first medal that you win for a beer.
Did you see me miss my mouth just now?
Hey, drinking problems are real.
I have a hole in my lip. Sorry, go ahead. Momentum in Claremore.
I actually gave you a dribble cup.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
You're welcome. No, it's also for the brewers. I can't say enough about our brewing team. They're amazing. So winning a second medal for the same beer is really a solidification of, okay, this is world class. Mm-hmm. That wasn't a mistake. It wasn't like a
you did it right one time,
aneurysm or anything like that, and gave us a medal just unbeknownst. But it won a second silver medal. Super cool, big momentum builder for our brewers and what they're doing. So yeah,
that's awesome, man. Congratulations on that. What's that like, by the way? Let's squirrel off on that for a moment to hear, because you weren't in Denver?
No.
So to watch the stream, or did you even watch the stream, or did you just hear that you won?
So this is really, oh gosh. So I've never heard our announcement live.
Okay. You should probably go next time you submit something.
Well, it's kind of like the Moneyball coach thing now. I feel like if I'm watching it, we don't win.
Fair.
Because so I was actually out on the golf course, and I was listening to the live stream as I was hitting balls, and my tee time came up, and my friend and I were going out onto the course, and he was like, "What are you listening to?" And I was like, "Oh, well, it's the live stream for the Great American Beer Festival. We've added all of these beers into it." And I was like, our category is coming up here pretty soon. So I'm, excited. It's very slim chance that we're actually going to win. This year was the largest beer competition in the world to date. So the most competitive, the largest. And so the chances of it are
across all
all
specialties or whatever,
and specialties, the chances of winning are pretty darn slim. Anyways, I had to turn it off to actually play golf for a little bit, and I was pausing it and playing it as we were going from hole to hole. And my friend I had paused it. I was playing, and my friend texted me, "Yo, congrats." And that was it. And I was like, wait, for what?
Yeah. What did you just hear about?
What did you just hear? And I probably made a couple of golfers on another hole almost shit their britches because I screamed and yelled and
probably thought you got a hole in one.
Oh, probably, but I wasn't in the right place for a hole in one. So they were like, is this guy having some sort of conundrum or what is that word? Conniption. So, I mean, it's exhilarating.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what I've tried to tell people. It's when you win a medal at GABF, it's like winning a medal in the Olympics. You just didn't know that you were going to win it. So the
I like that.
Yeah. Because when an Olympic winner wins, they knew that they won. With us, it's like our Olympics. We just don't know if we are going to win.
Right.
We know that we have the potential to, but so anyways, that's
really cool, man.
Yeah.
So in Claremore, is there food or no food?
There's no food in Claremore.
So that's the biggest beast when it comes to Prairie, because you're inheriting a place that has a kitchen. Now, whether or not, did you keep the kitchen?
We did.
Okay.
Yep.
So now you're getting into not only brewery, but brew pub.
Right. Yep.
How has that, I mean, that's your first foray into the food. Well, I know we talked about you were wanting to do a kitchen at the 6th and Utica location, but I'm assuming now that you have brew pub that is scratched.
Oh yeah. And the decision to open up the brew pub scratched that for the time being. Yeah. But I think our decision to try and open up a kitchen at the 6th in Utica location allowed us to have the mental capacity to say yes, because we were already planning for and had done that kind of work, and we had architectural drawings done. We had plumbers in place. We had, we were about to pull the trigger on that, and then the downtown space opened up and we pivoted. So, so opening up the kitchen or a restaurant, much different conversation than opening up just a brewery.
Yeah. So talk me through that. Like, how are you going to, is it going to be a restaurant that also serves beer, or is it going to be a third location of the brewery that also serves a little bit of food? How are you going to approach it?
So it will be...
Does that make sense, that question?
Okay. Yes, I followed the question. Yes, no, yes, and yes.
Now I'm going to have to rethink of my question, so just go ahead and, just go ahead and answer it, yeah.
It's going to be the I would say one of the more interesting restaurant concepts downtown.
Ooh.
Not that how
much detail can you give me? Do explain.
Oh, I can.
Okay.
I can be as public as I want to. I'm not on a contract anymore. I can say stuff.
Fair. Okay.
No, so it will be a full-on restaurant that has a brew pub component to it, but it will only have our beer, and we will have a full bar. But we're going to be doing like pre-mixed cocktails on draft.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We'll have St. Vitus action.
A little St. Vitus action, but for a taproom reason.
Right.
We'll have a couple of ciders on tap. I don't think that they'll be ours just because of legal reasons. We're trying to navigate that. We'll have a couple of wines on draft.
This on draft?
We'll have that on draft at all times.
We'll talk about this in a minute.
Yep. So we're going to have 20 taps of beer on draft. And then the other 10 are going to be mixed cocktails, wine, cider.
So there's 30 taps.
So there'll be 30 taps.
Is 20 taps, does that up your production at 6th and Utica? Because that's a lot of taps.
Kind of. It opens.
So what do you have now? You have 10?
We have 12 at the production facility. So, and that's kind of weird to say, but
production facility. Yeah.
Our production brewery, and that tap room will be open as well. It's not going to change. So. The obviously opening up multiple locations increases capacity for production.
Right. So you're going to be pulling from Claremore and from...
Right.
Are you going to brew on location downtown?
We will. We'll actually have a 7-barrel brew house down there. So bigger than your normal brew pub size, but we're only going to have a couple of tanks. We'll brew, possibly 200 barrels out of that a year. That being said, the 20 taps, so we have 20 taps in Claremore, and we'll have 20 taps downtown for beer specifically.
That's so much beer.
I know. We're trying to wrap our heads around it.
There's so much beer.
And
you almost need a second production facility now.
Well, no. We just might need a little bit more tanks.
Okay, fair. I was thinking
Right. I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
It just opens up more creativity. And so, with Claremore, we have the 20 taps, and we've already noticed, we're already demanding more, or the customers are demanding more one-off beers at both locations. Because we'll do a one-off beer that we, made a certain volume for just the downtown location. Now we're having to... Did that unplug a...
what was that?
We might have to pause.
I think we do. Pause.
A plug.
346 minutes later.
Hey, so the Ghost of Grass Fire knocked off the SD card from the camera. Then I had a client that needed massaging. Yeah. You had a bladder that needed massaging.
And, payroll questions.
So here we are. We're here. I'm going to, in lieu of drinking 1, 2, 3 beers and a lot of whiskey, I'm going to sip it at a pace here.
Yeah. You want to go to hop?
Where do we want to go?
You want to go to the hop? We're calling it hopdration.
Do we need that, or do we need that before we? So what's the big one?
The big one is, so this bottle is Bearded Theologian, aged in Hungarian oak whiskey barrels.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So do we want that as a in between before we get to the stout? Is that a step up?
Let's do the stout.
And then this.
Then that, and then this.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Gotcha.
So,
to be perfectly honest with you, I don't remember what I was asking you before. Oh, good for you. Welcome back to the podcast.
I made a mental note. I was in the middle of, basically, let me finish the thought that I had. We
might as well start it over because I don't know where that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you might have to do a little bit of editing.
I'm going to have to do a little work on this episode. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? That just means you're going to look at my face a little bit longer.
That is true.
I don't know if that's a positive thing.
Probably not. I do like that new hat, though.
Thank you.
This is one of my favorite stouts in town, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
I do love the Felix.
Oh, man, I love drinking it. I actually don't get to drink it very often because I don't drink beer very often above 7%.
What are we sitting at here?
8.7?
I'm going to test you. Yeah, you're right. 8.7.
Yeah. Oof, man. You're lucky I remember that. But
cheers, buddy. Whatever my question was, I'm sure it was great. Go ahead and give me your great answer.
I'm going to give you a synopsis, and if you have to edit this...
No, we're just going with it. I might not edit a thing. It might just be... It might see you walk to the restroom. And,
yeah. You're going to see an unedited background podcast. No, it was the question of 20 taps and what goes on with production of dealing with that. And we're, with Claremore, we've added already, if we're on the projection that we're doing, we're going to do about 300 barrels of beer through Claremore's tap room. So that's an extra 300, that's technically, let's call it 35 turns through the brew house. So that's already affecting us and affecting decisions. And the 20 taps just really allows us to have more flexibility with creativity. To make an answer that was probably long short, because Claremore is already drinking, and the downtown location with what our normal volume was for one-off beers, it, unbeknownst to us, you never know what a second location is going to do, but it's basically cutting the time in half for that one-off to last within our tap rooms. So we're having to make those twice as fast now.
Gotcha.
But that's cool because we're allowing ourselves or creating more opportunity to make a lot of different beers. So
how are you handling, and if I interrupted you, you can finish your thought, but how are you handling, is beer that's brewed on your small system in Claremore and beer that's brewed at the brew pub going to be specific to those locations? Are there going to be like brew pub only beers that were brewed there?
Great question. Probably.
Yeah.
There isn't yet, just because the Claremore location's brew house technically isn't operational at this point in time. It's legally there. It's in place. There are some things that, didn't get brushed under the rug for it to actually operate to our standards.
Sure.
So I'm going to have to get a couple pieces of equipment that just in this day and age, it's a long and arduous task to get done. And so we actually haven't brewed up there just yet. We have all intentions to brew many different times up there during the year. But right now, all of our one-off stuff and everything is made at the production facility. The brew pub, it will be, the cool thing with the new laws that changed in November, and I don't even know if you knew that laws changed.
I don't know if I did. Yeah.
Allows us to actually have multiple tap rooms. So that the law change was in 2020, I think. It wasn't this November, but last November. So 2021.
So then, yeah.
So we're able to have multiple locations now, and we can distribute beer
between those locations.
Between the locations. So if we make a beer in Claremore, we can actually take it to the tap room or take it downtown. That system's too small to probably do that, so that'll only be Claremore stuff. And then the brew pub brew house will actually be large enough to distribute beer from that place to our tap rooms. So
I want to tap into the see what I did there. I want to tap into the food side of the brew pub.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we were about to get into that.
You teased me with it's going to be a restaurant unlike any other restaurant. How so? Like what are you going cuisine wise? Do you know your chef? Like give me all the deets.
We don't have a chef just yet. So if you want to work for Cabin Boys Brewery, we'll be making an announcement at some point in time.
That chef will be John Moss, and it's all smoked meat.
And we're not going to be able to keep up with production because that takes a long time.
Yep. It's there until it's not.
Yeah. So the menu is going to be a concise menu. We're going to have probably 8 to 10 sandwiches. We're going to have about 3 or 4 entrees. Let's call it a dozen appetizers and maybe a couple of desserts. So
is your target market lunch or dinner?
It'll be both.
Okay.
Our target audience,
or not target market, I guess, like target time or target.
Yeah. Meal. I really don't know. Downtown is always shifting, and so I don't know. We don't know yet if we're going to have really busy lunches.
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're planning for everything, but what we're really designing the restaurant to be is a space that people will feel very comfortable hanging out for 3 hours in, but also a space that people feel very comfortable and can trust that they can get in and out before like a show downtown in about 30 or 40 minutes. So
that's key that you hit that clientele.
Yeah. So
because Cane's, the
Tulsa BOK,
Theater,
Tulsa Theater, Hunt Club, the Vanguard. So there's a lot of really cool stuff going down there, or
even
already there
sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we want our customers to be able to know, okay, I can get in, I can order, get a couple beers, and get out and paid within 30 to 40 minutes. So before a show, but also have a really cool space that can, they can do homework, hang out and play board games for, hours on end or whatnot. So we're going to be integrating within our ordering system the traditional way from the bar and from a food window. We're not going to have actual servers come to your table, and it won't be full service.
Interesting.
But we are going to have runners, and I would say 80% of our ordering is going to be off QR codes. So you'll be able to start a tab yourself for beer. You'll be able to close the tab yourself. You'll be able to order food off of a separate tab or the same tab off of QR codes. And the QR codes will be specific for each table, so that our runners will be able to take the food to you like you ordered it from a server. But it cuts down about 15 to 17 minutes of time within your restaurant experience. So when you order, if you wanted to order food and order a couple of beers, you're going to pay at that same time.
You can close your tab at that moment.
At that moment, and not have to worry about someone, if, like, let's say you're late to a show, but you want food, you're going to order, pay, get the food. You're already done.
And I assume there's a to-go option as you're ordering it. So it's like order to go, boom. And then as you're walking to Cane's, you eat a sandwich.
Exactly.
You're there.
Yeah, we actually haven't thought of that, but that's a nice idea.
Another free one. Next one costs you. Yeah. Next one costs you.
Well, you already get free beer. So.
Fair enough. That's really cool.
That's why I say it's going to be a different restaurant feel than most of downtown Tulsa has right now.
Pretty much all of.
Yeah. We'll be the first, we're trying to do a 100% QR code ordering system, but I don't want, none of us want any customer to come in and be like, well, I don't own a smartphone, or I don't even know how that works. So you can order from the bar traditionally. You can order food from the bar. You can order food from the food window. Just like you would.
Is the food window outward facing, like outside facing?
It would be outside facing.
Where are you going to put that in the...
It'll be just adjacent.
Like facing Hunt Club?
It'll be facing Hunt Club. Well, it won't be outside. You'll be
okay. So you come in. So it's not an outside facing, like...
Correct.
Okay,
no,
okay.
It'll be inside the restaurant, and it'll be adjacent to, just to the side of the bar. Bar area.
What I'm excited to see is how you've reimagined that space, because we talked about that a little bit after I fucked up and didn't show up to your soft opening.
You're good.
All right, you texted to me and I didn't put it on my calendar, and then
it's whatever.
Shit happens.
Yep.
I realized it the day after when I saw posts. I was like, God damn it.
That's okay.
But you were telling me
I left you at a bar that you invited me to.
That's true.
So that was payback.
It's okay.
Yeah.
All's forgiven.
I deserve it.
Yes. So, you don't have to give too much details now, but I think what I'm curious to see, or excited to see, is how that space looks reimagined, because you basically flipped it. Like you got rid of the private room that was facing, that was right next to 36 Degrees North, the north side of it.
Yeah, so that private room on the north side is going to be the brew house area.
Which was on the south side.
Side, which... I'm not ever going to speak ill of what that group
not at all.
Took that over.
I would throw this at you because they're my friends.
Yeah, exactly. Because people have always asked me, why did that close? Weren't they really busy? Blah, blah, blah. And what I have said is, just for them, I respect all of them as business owners. It's really hard for anyone with a 5-split ownership of a business to operate it with a well-oiled engine. Mm-hmm. That is really difficult. So I don't blame them for anything that happened. I think that all of them are really good business owners. And so if anybody says anything otherwise, I'm going to fight them to the teeth.
I'll be right there with you.
But I do think one of the mistakes that they did, and sorry if I offend anybody, is the flow to the patio wasn't great.
I actually agree with that.
Yeah.
The flow was better the other way, where there was nowhere to go with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I see what you're saying.
And so, but that was just a really small one to fix. So we'll actually have really good foot traffic to the patio, and be able to open up that space a little better. But that, and with flipping it, we added some seats, we added some space to actually have a cozy corner where couches and maybe, I don't know, a fireplace or whatnot is going to go, and it'll add a comfort level of kind of a living room effect in that space. So it'll be really fun.
We're struggling over here.
I know.
I almost started coughing. I had to reach for water. I was like, oh, that's
I'm about to burp into the mic.
Yeah, you were. All right. So as we progress now to other questions, are we good? We'll finish this and then we'll go here, right?
Yeah.
So we'll wash it out with water. So I'll put my water up
here
just to have it ready. This is a big question, so I'm going to have to preface it in a certain way.
Yeah. I'm ready for anything.
I know you are, but I want to make sure I get the proper answer. I don't want a bullshit answer, so I'm going to have to phrase it the right way.
I'm going to be.
I know you are.
I'm going to be pretty honest.
Fear-wise, as you go into this, right?
Fear.
F-E-A-R. Fear. Like scared. If you allow your mind to go to worst possible scenarios at night type thing, right? What if you could point to one thing where and I think Claremore, maybe there's no fear there anymore because they're drinking the beer and it's open and it's
open. It's operating.
Maybe it's brewpub. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
What was or is the biggest fear in going from 1 to 3 that? Yep. Do you have one that comes to mind?
So the biggest fear, and this is, a lot of what our conversations with our leadership team is all about, and preventing that fear and falling into it. But also at the same time preparing ourselves to take this task on. Claremore was a really great practice run for it. And so the fear that, can seep in, and so Lisa, if you're going to listen to this, you're going to be a punching bag for this moment. But it's a great example of what all of us are feeling. She really wanted to punch holes in opening multiple locations with me and was the most vocal about this. And our greatest fear is how do we cultivate what we have at the original location within our own team.
So it's a culture fear.
It's a culture fear.
Okay.
Because we can take care of customers, right? We can give food to a customer.
You can hire for that.
We can throw beer at people. But how do we embody what, who we are within a team that's really going to buy in with what Cabin Boys is? And Claremore was a great practice run, and that team is just completely bought in and has kind of reduced that fear. So I think that the fear has morphed really into, okay, we know how to multiply our culture, for 5 people. How do we multiply that for 25 more? Mm-hmm. And how are we going to, acquire that many employees all at once? And I think that's the biggest fear of because we're really intentional with who we hire and how we interview. How are we going to have enough time to do that for 25 people? Because, when you hire 25 people, that means that you might have 200 interviews to go through. Mm-hmm. Or 200 resumes to go over. How do you multiply that? How do you convey what you want within your company and really enrich those people's lives and enrich the culture within our company and protect what, how do you protect the people that are already within your company? Because, one of the things that I heard from our other employees and team members is, are we going to dilute ourselves? We're scared for the people that are going to come in. Are they going to change us? What does that feel like? And it was really nice to have Claremore as a stepping stone, because they realized, oh, well, Lisa and Austin as the owners and leaders of this company really care about who they bring into this company and are very intentional. But how do you multiply that? So that's the fear that comes into my brain. And, the responsibility falls ultimately on Lisa and I, but also, it goes down the line. We don't just interview within our company with only Lisa and me. We interview with, we had 2 interviews today and 4 people on the team were in those interviews. And that can be kind of intimidating in an interview, but we really want it. It's relaxed, and we don't. It's not like you're sitting in front of a board or anything like that. So that would be our number one fear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I tell you what I thought your answer would have been?
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought it would have been quality control.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think that's, I could see in my mind, and it's not just a cabin boys problem. It's like anyone that scales rapidly, right? How do you make sure that the same quality that you had when you had one location and you were brewing for 12 taps is equal across 20 taps in Claremore and 30 taps or 20 taps of your beer in the brew pub plus the 12 that you still have at the production facility.
Which is, like, that means that
maybe I'm introducing a new fear to you.
No,
like,
you're not.
To me, like, that's where my mind went. Like, God, that would be fucking hard. Like, to make sure that as I scale this, the quality scales with it.
Right. So, even on that, like, that has a multitude of answers to it. We're now going to manage 52 taps, actually 62 taps if you include the 10. And so that's 62 tap lines that you have to clean and manage and distribute to. And so we've got the infrastructure in place to manage that now. But also at the same time, the nice thing is our brewing team didn't change. Now, where a brewer might leave here or there, which we just lost Jordan Odell to a new project. Yeah. But happy for him. He came to the brewery yesterday and had beers with us. So nice. We're all hunky dory, high five and hugging and stuff. And happy for him for that opportunity. But the brewery didn't change. We're just going to need to add one tank, which doesn't mean that the quality is going to go down. That just means that, and actually that means that the quality is going to go up, in my mind, because this is going to give the brewers an opportunity to actually make more beer more often. So their repetition is actually going to be heightened and give them more practice and more precision and more knowledge and more backstory to each and every individual brew, because the more data that you have within a brewery, the better that you can be, which kind of sounds backwards.
Yeah, so but I get it. It makes sense, though. Yeah.
It just allows us to actually be more precise. So I'm actually excited about that.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. All right. I think that's all the hard questions I had. I want to ask, like, fun, big picture questions now.
And to be quite honest, if you have hard questions after this, that's totally fine.
Oh, I'll throw them at you if I do. Tell me what's in this as I pour it. Or tell everyone what's in this beauty.
This is really cool. This is a project that we're actually going to take on and make permanent within the brewery. It's called Hopdration, which is our hop water project, which is our response to the need to have a non-gluten and non-alcoholic offering to our customers. Because, let's say
it has a floral smell to it.
Yeah. Let's say this is never going to be our number one seller, right? But let's say we sell 10 of these in one day. Well, that's 10 people that wouldn't have had a great experience within the brewery. What do you think?
Homie, that's delicious.
Right?
It tastes like gin.
It does taste like gin. It has a really cool minty character to it.
Yeah.
It has a really cool lemon character to it.
I get like a bed of flowers. Like I'm in a bed of wildflowers.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're going to have floral characters to it. And this
lemon
is just
on the nose.
Yeah. Very citrusy. The cool thing is
that's
this
really cool.
is hops cultivated. I think this is 2 different hops that are thrown into carbonated water. And it doesn't, it sounds easy, but we've done a lot of research to actually make a good product for it. And it's kind of intense to make this kind of product.
I'm assuming it takes up a whole tank by itself.
It does.
Yeah.
And it takes time and a very precise way to do it.
Oh, sure. I could imagine that getting really bitter really quick.
It could get really bitter really quick. It could oxidize really quick. Bacteria could grow into it because it's water. It doesn't have alcohol. Mm-hmm. So how do you prevent people getting sick by drinking it?
That would suck.
Right? But anyways.
Where'd you get
salmonella?
I was trying to think of like some disease from Oregon Trail. Where'd you get listeria?
Where'd you get dysentery?
Dysentery. There it is. Dysentery.
That would be dysentery comes from bacteria-filled water.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, shit. I didn't realize I was going. Oh, that was a bad throw.
But
hey, by the way, you have my keys.
I do.
Don't forget about that. Okay.
I'm not.
I looked at that bottle and I was like, shit. He has my keys.
This is water. So we can actually fill our glass.
Fair. And chug. Oh.
This is hopdration. This is our hydration for the moment.
So what? I don't know where I was going. I think I started a question. I was like Michael Scott. Sometimes I start talking and I don't know where I'm going. And I hope to find it along the way. But I stopped myself. Because I was going to ask, like, what does the hops do to the like hydration level? But probably nothing. It's water still, right?
It doesn't detract from the hydration.
It doesn't make it more towards alcohol or more towards anything because that's the fermentation process.
Yeah,
so
it's that's kind of a nomenclature. Like,
yeah.
Oh well, when you throw more hops into it, it becomes more alcoholic.
No,
that's not true.
It becomes more hop flavored.
Yeah, it becomes more hop flavored, and actually, the more hops that you add into it, the more stable it gets because hops has an acid that actually fights off bacteria.
Stable in the bacteria regard.
Yeah.
Go ahead and toss that back to me, by the way. I'll close it up.
But unlike tea, which adds caffeine, which actually dehydrates you, this doesn't have caffeine. So you're actually getting as much hydration out of it as you would if you were drinking just straight up carbonated water.
What hops did you use? Do you know?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that question.
Let me just phrase it a different way. If you use different hops, would you have different flavors of hopdration?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. This one's very floral, very citrusy, very earthy. No. Idaho 7.
Okay. I wasn't going to guess that one.
And
Montuca was going to be my next guess.
Idaho 7 and...
Strata. No, it's not Strata.
No, it's not Strata.
Because that's...
I want to say it's... See, I didn't...
Mosaic.
No, it's not Mosaic. Oh, man, I'm sorry, production team. But this is one thing. So you know, as someone that's doing multiple different things, the sad thing for me is, let's say a year ago, I could have spatted this out instantly.
But now your mind's on that vanity that's going into your house.
Exactly.
Just circle back to the
what
first
color
thing.
did I put in?
Yeah.
No, I know that Idaho 7 is in here. And, it's Idaho 7 in Centennial.
Centennial, okay.
Yeah.
It's another big boy.
Thank you, Brain.
And
if I'm wrong, sorry, production team.
I'm trying to think, is it Strata that has the very much like the pina colada vibe?
Is that the Strata? Coconut.
That could be really interesting.
It could be. It could be really cool. I'm not a fan of
carbonated water,
but carbonated water could be really cool.
Yeah. When I was at Cerebral, they came out with they were one of the first to jump on the Strata train, and they came out with an IPA that I swore was a Mai Tai. I was like, this is fucking coconut. Like,
super cool.
But it was so good. Yeah.
But it's really nice.
It is nice. Yeah.
It's really cool.
The more you pour, the more you see there's a little...
Yeah, there's a little greenish tint. Like almost a silver tint to it. But But it's really cool. It's, it's not something that the team is expecting to make a bunch of money off of.
What do you charge for a glass of that?
$4.
Okay.
Yeah. So, low cost, and that's tax included. So $4. So I think we're technically charging like $3.20 or something for it. It's not something that we're trying to make money off of. We're just really trying to have the 10 to 15 people that come in with their friends that don't want to have alcohol but want to have a good time, or a pregnant mom or someone.
So did you do this in lieu of carrying like Athletic or
we
some
have
of the other NA
Athletic,
brands?
we have Athletic in house, but we just wanted to go the extra mile and produce something that we have made. And, non-alcoholic beer is pretty intense to make.
I was going to say, so now talk me through the difference between making this and making a non-alcoholic beer. Because I feel like you have two of the some odd ingredients in this. How big of a step would it be to then
make an actual beer?
Make it in a beer.
So a non-alcoholic beer, you actually have to either make a beer that doesn't ferment and stabilize it. And then you would have to pasteurize it. So that's a $250,000 piece of equipment. Or you make a beer, ferment it as normal, and then strip the alcohol out.
That sounds arduous.
It is very arduous and very expensive pieces of equipment to do that. It's called an alkalizer that actually pulls the alcohol out of a liquid. And it doesn't pull everything out, but it's still considered non-alcoholic.
Dude, that just reminded me of something. Can I squirrel off for a second?
Yeah, go.
I saw a video today on Instagram. I'm going to post this tomorrow, so this is being recorded on Wednesday, the 21st. I saw a video today, and it was this scientist dude.
Yeah.
And he had sesame oil in 2 glasses, and then he had cherry tomatoes in 2 glasses. Right? I'm going somewhere with this, trust me. Your Alka reminded me. And so he poured regular water into the glass with the sesame oil, and just like we were taught in school, oil and water don't mix. The oil floated to the top. Then he poured alkaline water into the oil, and it mixed, right? It became cloudy and mixed, didn't float, became a thing.
Okay.
So then he said,
alkaline would be a higher pH water.
Yep. And so then he said, when you buy your vegetables and you take them home and you wash them and you use regular water, and then he poured it in there, and he's like, and he let it sit for a minute, and then he took a cup and strained out the water, and it just looked like normal water. He was nothing comes off of, no, there's nothing. It just looked like water. It's nothing comes off of the fruit or the vegetable.
Right.
He poured the alkaline water in the tomatoes, let it sit, poured it into a glass, and it was yellow.
Whoa, that's cool.
The alkaline water attaches to the pesticides and the stuff that was used in the collection of this fruit, because it was tomatoes.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but I don't want to eat this. And I was like, fucking hell. I was like, what am I doing with my life? Who knows what I'm putting in my body? But the whole alkaline and the alkaliner or whatever you called it, the machine. I was like,
oh gosh, alkalizer.
That reminded me of that video because it burned in my brain now.
Right.
I'm gonna have to go get high pH water to wash my vegetables and fruit with. Come on. I'm gonna be that bougie. People come over and oh, did you wash that? Not only did I wash it.
That would be a pretty arduous party trick.
Yes, it would. I don't even know if that's a trick. That's a party ender. People are like, you did what? You boring ass.
Okay, cool.
Get out
we'll
of here.
See you next year.
Right. Jesus. All right, let's talk. I think that's all the questions I had about your new ventures.
Yeah.
I have a interesting question.
Okay, fire away.
Has the beer world gotten stale?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
And let me tell you where my mind goes in that.
Okay.
I don't know what's new anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like every once in a while there's the experimental hops and that sort of thing. Yeah. But have you ever thought of it from a 30,000 foot view? All
the time.
We make lagers and we make, you or the Belgian side, we make triples and singles and all this. But I guess the question is what's next? What's new? Is it?
What's the next hazy IPA?
Because I feel like...
Can there be a next hazy IPA?
And I feel like this isn't a knock on you or any brewery anywhere, but I feel like you guys get into this routine of making what you make and making it well.
Yep.
And then it's like, at some point, does it become like, it's a little like,
yeah, sure.
Like, where are we going next?
So this actually excites me.
Good.
That question actually excites me because in some ways, yes. Okay, so let's just put it at a 30,000 foot level. The answer is yes. There's not a whole lot more that we can throw into beer that's going to just blow people's minds. Mm-hmm. People know, for the most part, let's say you're a craft beer person, right? For the most part, you know that people can throw fried chicken into a beer.
I've had it.
I know.
In Golden, Colorado.
So have I, and it was
really weird.
Really weird. People know that you can like brew a beer that was cultivated from the yeast of someone's beard, right?
Beard beer.
Yeah.
Had that one too from Rogue.
Yep. So, I wouldn't call it stale. I would call it, now we're getting into the phase in the craft beer industry that is a more mature version of culture.
Okay.
So I think you're going to start seeing breweries really adapt to how do we diverse ourselves within what we're giving to our community and culture within our brewery. So yes, and I think that you're going to see breweries start really becoming, masters of the craft of the beer that they are best at. So I could be completely wrong, but I kind of look forward to the time where, we're not going to be demanded to come out with a new beer every single Friday. Now that might sound boring to a craft beer nerd that always wants something new. And there's always going to be that aspect. But, I think people are in the community is going to fall into a rhythm of this is our neighborhood brewery that gives this to us. Uh-huh. And this is why we go there, because we feel comfortable or because we're, this is the rock and roll brewery or.
So it's more like a solidifying of your place.
Right.
In the community.
Yeah. Like how do we become cornerstones of a town to provide a product that humans have always consumed since civilization started.
Because the way I look at it is like you had, I don't know what was before beer, but you had something, fortified wine or whatever you had, right? And then you had macro breweries, and it became this thing, and then it leveled out, and then you had micro breweries, and then it leveled out, and then you have craft, which was like a play off of micro. And now I feel like we're at the level out stage. And I don't know what the next up is, because if you look back in history, like at the line graph of this, it's always worked this way. Right. So I don't know if forever it's just going to now be this. I feel like there's got to be at some point a this. But I have no clue. And if I knew, I'd be a fucking millionaire.
Yeah, you would.
Because
you and I both.
That's what excites me. And also it's just a question. It's like because that's me outside the industry. Right. Because if I want, that's why I gravitate towards bourbon now. And I'm not a beer guy. I'll always have a good craft beer all the time. But like if I want something new, I mean, there's so many different things you can do. A lot like in the beer world, but probably a little more as far as like different staves you can throw in, or different ages years you can keep it in a barrel, or different things you can blend it with, or different all this different stuff, which maybe that's maybe I'm onto something. Maybe the creativity that they have to have here could then play into the beer world. So like you could start using staves in tanks, or you could start using, I mean, who knows what, I don't know.
And that, not to bust your bubble, but that has been done.
I figured.
I think what you're going to start seeing from breweries is really come back to the raw material. So we're really concerned about, not to get too political, but we have to talk about it because it's raw material. climate change. And what does that do for barley? How are we going to cultivate that? What is smart for the soil? How do we, there's new barleys actually being invented and planted, and now enough into production that we're seeing those come into the glass already. And what is that going to do for the beer world? Because we as humans have always tried to have beer on the table. Without beer, we don't have bourbon. Without beer, we don't have
100%.
We don't have vodka. We don't have.
That's actually a good point. So everything they're doing, they probably had to take from the beer world.
Correct. Yeah. So
that's a good point. So I'll look at that backwards. Yeah.
It's not that you didn't look at it backwards. I see your standpoint on that. But I think the creativity of the stories of how the beer got into the glass is going to become more substantial within what people pay attention to within the craft beer industry. Like, hey, we got this grain back into circulation from, the 1800s because it actually produces less carbon, or it uptakes, more CO2 from the environment so that we have cleaner air, or it doesn't take as many man hours, or it doesn't spend as much carbon fuel, or these hops are less apt to be bacteria and bug free without pesticides. So we're having to think about all that stuff now as an industry, and how do we keep the beer into a glass with new products that reduce the use of, raw material and reduce chemical use, and have an environmental impact on what we're actually doing. So that, I think, let's call it 30 years from now, that's going to be a cool factor within the craft beer industry, or within beer itself. And I think that we're going to see the industry become more like what Germany is now, 1,000 years later from when their breweries were opening up, and becoming, solidified cornerstones within their communities. We're developing what that cornerstone looks like right now.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, and I realized, to burst my own bubble, I'm probably at the journey in my bourbon life that I was early on in my craft beer journey.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's been a couple years, but it's probably equal. Yeah. And so at that point, I wasn't thinking that I had tried all of the things that craft beer had to offer.
Yeah.
And so when I say that, there's so many different ways you can do it, put 12 virgin toasted French oak staves instead of 10.
Right. Yeah. What does that do?
You can, 100%. But see, I was trying to set you up to tell me you were coming out with a Stilsner, a stout Pilsner mix, but you didn't, you didn't go there.
Hey,
a Stilsner.
There's been weird stuff happen.
If you ever let me brew a beer, I'm going to try to brew a Stilsner.
Let's go.
God, that would be so bad.
All right. The last and final. And
did you save the best for last?
Save the best for last.
Describe this as you're pouring it. You kind of did already, but.
So this beer was aged in Hungarian oak whiskey barrels that came from Balcones.
Balcones, our friends.
Yeah. The cool thing, so this is a staple of ours, Bearded Theologian, so everybody knows that beer.
Oh, it does have a whiskey nose.
It has a whiskey nose, but the cool thing is, pay attention. Usually when you age a beer within whiskey barrels, you're going to get really bright vanilla, cherry notes off of it, and woody character. This is going to be mushroom, earthy cacao.
Oh, shit. Dude, I got mushrooms straight off the palate.
Right? Isn't that cool?
You know what this reminds me of in a weird way? I mean, it's a totally different beer, but did you have the mushroom beer that Jester King makes? They make one every year. I don't know how they do it, but they take a shit ton of mushrooms and put it into a beer.
Yeah.
And it's funky like all Jester King beers are.
Yeah.
But this actually has almost equal the fungi on the palate.
It's real earthy, really. It's not funky. It's not a sour
When I say
beer.
fungi, that's just a fancy way of mushrooms.
Right.
Like you get that woodiness, that
It has
that's really cool.
A little bit more fig character or cacao character.
Mm-hmm. I get that on the back end.
Right. So this is going to have like heavier wood characters rather than those like bright vanilla.
Yeah.
Now is that different than American oak and French oak? The Hungarian oak brings all of that character.
Is that solely the oak, you think, or is that what Balcones put in it? Because they are more of the American whiskey, like Texas, it kind of has a little bit of a peatiness, a little bit of a... Do you think that had something to it? The whiskey that was in there?
Probably did. This wasn't a peated scotch or anything like that, or a peated whiskey. I think... So the whiskey that went into this was, changed by the oak itself, but I think the oak is really the shining variant here. It's not the whiskey that was made, because it was a straight whiskey. It wasn't peated or smoked or anything like that. It was just straight whiskey going into a Hungarian oak barrel that gave this a way different, way different.
It might be the most unique beer I've ever had from your brewery.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's cool. It's really cool.
I'm trying to, in my mind, pair this with food.
You know what this would be really good with? And this is going to sound way outside the realm of what you would normally do, but a Waldorf salad or pears. Or
I was going charcuterie board.
Charcuterie board would be great, but you know how a Waldorf salad has walnuts and that nutty character. That would, and maybe even pears or cheese.
I wouldn't drink this with mushrooms.
No, you wouldn't.
Because you would be overdoing it.
It'd be overwhelming.
For those of you listening or watching this and not sipping this with us, I can't overstate the earthiness.
It's earthy,
and
it's really cool. But it's not like you're drinking dirt.
Nope.
It's really clean. It's well
balanced
and balanced.
Yeah.
But and it's not. So you know how. So every single time that I've had someone describe Bearded Theologian, they're like, "I want to smoke a pipe or a cigar with this."
Oh, it'd be a great cigar beer.
It would be a great cigar beer, and maybe just a level up. Mm-hmm. It would be paired incredibly well with that.
Yeah. Like a light cigar with that.
Yeah.
Heavy cigar.
It couldn't be heavy.
No, you're
fighting on each other there.
But the light cigar would be perfect with that. Mm-hmm. Now I keep checking the camera lights to make sure it's still recording.
I've got it for you.
Appreciate you. No, it's really cool.
Yeah.
What do you have coming down the pipe as far as new releases or new beers?
I think we're actually going to release the Hemingway this week at the brewery. And
did you have to do a certain amount of time where that was only at Hemingway?
No, that was just because we didn't have the wherewithal or the time to actually get it out to the public.
Fair. What's your price? So are you going to be able to do it on draft, or are you selling the bottles?
No, it's just bottled because we didn't have enough that to go into kegs.
Same price point as Hemingway?
It'll be $10 cheaper.
Okay.
It'll be $50 a bottle.
And so for people that don't spit out their drink right now, $50 for a beer. Explain what went into that beer.
It's just like a wine. It spent 2 years in a wine barrel, and everything on that beer is custom. It's a beer to guard style. It's 14.5%. Sat in the wine barrel for 2 years. The wine barrels came from the Washington area from a Syrah winery. The bottles were blown in Portugal, shipped to us. They're hand corked. The Lisa's label is stellar.
Really cool.
So every part of that beer is extremely custom. And the first time that I've made, an intentionally overly expensive beer.
Do you like that?
I did. I loved the excuse to do it. It was really cool. It might be a couple years till I do another one like that.
So what makes the production of a beer, or let me rephrase that. What's different in the production of a beer when you know you're producing an expensive beer versus like a normal beer? Is it the amount of time you can take with it, the ingredients you can use, all the above?
Sure. It's just, going over the top.
Because 2 years is a long time.
Yeah, 2 years is a long
age of beer.
time. We had, we had $12,000 to $15,000 into the beer before we even bottled it. So there's just ingredient cost, barrel cost, time, man hours. And then just the time frame of waiting on it. So that all has to calculate into it. Buying really good corks. Buying the bottles themselves, I think cost $1.50 a piece, the glass itself, and being able to ship those from Portugal to Canada to America, it goes through 2 different customs and all. It's just a lot.
It's a thing.
Yeah. So but it was a really, really cool project. So
you got that coming out this week.
Yeah.
Or was that next week? This week?
I think it's this week. I think it would be tomorrow.
Oh, the day this posts.
I think it might be today.
Rock and roll. Today.
Wow. My past self is saying today.
Today.
So, goodness. Anything
Are you
else?
still doing the iron in the beer?
Yeah, we have that right now.
Because it's that season.
Yeah, it's December 1st.
Remind me the name.
The Goostingling.
Goostingling.
Yeah. Which I know I got that word from somewhere, which means iron in beer. But we have thus thought that it was a made-up word from me, but it works. I have looked it up.
It sounds German. You can yell it.
Yeah, exactly. But the Goostingling is December 1st through February 29th.
Okay.
So winter. But it's going on right now, and it is way cool.
And can you pick any beer?
Any beer. Any beer.
Now, you have to be strategic in what you pick, though, right?
You should be.
A lighter beer that wouldn't necessarily...
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes it taste more piney or like sappy.
I'd imagine like the Felix would be great.
Felix is perfect. Bearded Theologian's perfect. Any dark beer is going to be really good.
I wonder what it would do to this.
Oh, my gosh.
Put a hot iron in that earthy...
I would be like roasting a mushroom.
It might be fantastic.
It might be fantastic.
Or it might be awful.
I can't see an awful scenario.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
If it just became too much, like you're drinking mushroom juice, like that would be...
like if it staled the mushroom or something. Yeah.
That would be the only way.
Yeah. I'm going to actually pour myself a little bit more of that.
Do it. I'm still working on it.
Here, I'm going to tap you off.
Thank you. I'm trying to think if I have anything else to ask you.
I mean,
I don't know if I do.
We've
rolled on it for a minute.
Hour and a half conversation. This has been fantastic.
It has been fun. Welcome back.
Well, thank you
to
very
the tasting
much.
room.
It was, one, perfect timing for me to come in.
Yep.
Because this is the part of the year that kind of slows down. But also at the same time, it was really cool for you to invite me back as a guest. It was pretty cool.
I think a cool way to move forward as you're going to be busy for a while. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have multiple locations, but like when people come in to contract brew or to collab or to not contract brew, to collab.
I'll definitely
bring them on as like like you come back, you'll be the like most recurring guest.
Yeah.
And then you can bring on whoever you're with.
Yeah.
And we can just knock out like
that'd be super cool.
Old school 3 style.
And you never know. Maybe I'll still come back as a host for season 4.
Yeah. Maybe. But hopefully not, because hopefully you'll be so busy with successful enterprises.
If I'm so busy, that means that I've hired multiple people to do my job, so I'll have more time on my
Actually,
hands.
that is true.
Yeah.
Hopefully you are back. That's very true. Cheers, Austin McIllroy.
Hey, cheers.
On all of your successes. Let people know when you're open in Claremore. Do you know your hours off the top of your head?
I think I do.
Okay.
We are open from Tuesday to Saturday. So we're closed Sunday, Monday.
Pause. Why do people close on Monday?
It's just...
Is it a staffing thing now?
No. Not for us.
No.
For Claremore,
just in general.
Yeah. For Claremore specific, you know, Sunday's just as well. I mean, we might open up on a Sunday in the future. Monday is a good logistics day for a restaurant or a tap room.
I get it. As a consumer, it's so frustrating.
I know.
And not just, I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking like, I remember I like had a slow Monday a couple months ago, and I tried to like do some shopping, and I tried to do it local. So I tried to go to like Meat and Cheese Show, and I tried to go to all these, and they're fucking closed on Monday.
Right.
Tried to go to Grassroots Larder, closed on Monday. It's closed on Monday. And I'm like, fuck, do you want my money or not? Like, what are we doing? Like,
I want to spend money.
Yeah, I'm trying to give you business. Like, what are we doing?
You know, we're open 7 days a week at the production facility. That may change when the downtown is open. We're prepared for both scenarios. We might get busier because we have more faces and people want to come to the production facility to actually see where everything is made. But it might get slower. It might deter people from coming to the original tap room. I don't know.
Did you have to reconcile in your mind the possibility of cannibalizing yourself being that close?
No, yes, no, but think about it this way: McNelly's has McNelly's. They have Elgin Park.
And. But let me play devil's advocate. You can get like most of their ands are totally different. Like you can't get like the McNelly's burger at Red Light Chicken. You can't get Yokozuna at McNelly. You know what I mean?
Our tap rooms, you know, the brew pub is going to be similar. Like the beer is going to be similar. The vibe of it is going to be
vibe and food
very different,
totally different. Yeah.
So, and in a completely different corridor of customers. You know, a lot of our regulars don't ever go downtown, which sounds so weird.
Considering you're like 0.4 miles.
Yeah. So it's like the production facility is on its own little island that isn't necessarily affected from downtown in a huge way. Yeah. So, yeah.
I get that. Cool. I'm excited for you, man.
Well, thank you very much.
Happy for you. I'm excited for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm, excited for myself and terrified at the same time.
Fair.
I'm ready to have downtown contractors to stop calling me and my house contractors to stop calling me.
How far away is the house from being done?
The house is probably...
Did it take the back burner to the other things?
No. I mean, it is in full... The two contractors were in my house this morning.
Okay.
So they when you hire them, they show up. So,
imagine that. People want money.
So, yep. Maybe a month.
Oh, cool. So then we'll have a house. We'll have an open house in February.
I would love to. Yeah. That'd be really cool.
We'll make it happen.
Right on.
Good to see you, bro.
Hey, good to see you.
See you next time on the tasting room. Yes. See ya.
Peace.